Today is Sunday, and I come from an Italian-American household where we had a great tradition on Sundays. The family had to come together at the table. You had to be there. They called it dinner, but it started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody was at the table. Spaghetti and meatballs every Sunday. I started my tomato sauce before I left. We're going to go back. We're going to sit at the table, have our spaghetti and meatballs on Sunday. And I know what I'm going to talk to them about. My daughters, Mariah. We're going to be at dinner with the boyfriend, and we're going to have our spaghetti and our meatballs. They won't eat the spaghetti and the meatballs because when I cook it, they just won't eat it. But they move it around the dish, and that's all I can ask. But I'm going to tell them, I'm going to recall to them how important that meal was on Sundays, to have the family together, to take the time to sit and to talk and to reconnect. People talk about the Italians and they love the food. Yeah, they love the food, but the food was just a magnet to get the family to the table, right? It was just the device to get people to spend 2 hours at the table. And that's where you talked and you went through the week. And I used to do it at my grandfather's house. My father, mother, my kids, all the siblings would go to my grandfather's house. My grandfather's name was Andrea. I'm named for him, Andrew. And at the end of the meal, my grandfather would always say, he was at the head of the table, and he would say, okay, that was my vacation. And then he would get up and they would do whatever they were doing. I never really understood what he meant. And later in life, I said to my father, who was his son, I said, what did Grandpa mean, that was my vacation? He said, well, your grandfather never had a day off. Your grandfather worked 7 days a week. He ran a little grocery store, delicatessen in Jamaica. And he worked 7 days a week. And he was saying that was his vacation. He never took a vacation. And everybody would take a vacation on TV in the TV commercials. That was his vacation. The 3 hours at the table for dinner with his family, that was his vacation. And then he would go back to run the store. You think of how our immigrants work in this country, and wherever the immigrants are from, what that whole immigrant philosophy and drive does for us. You think of all the essential workers. You know, well, we had to stay at home. I'm tired of staying at home. Yeah, think of all the people, all the essential workers who had to go out there every day and work in the middle of this, who frankly would have much rather stay home. And they didn't know what the virus was, and they're out there working with the public, exposing themselves. Why do we have a higher rate of infection among African Americans, Latinos, et cetera? Well, who are the essential workers? We have a higher rate of infection among the essential workers because they were out there driving the buses, and they were out there driving the trains, and they were out there running the hospitals and the emergency rooms and the nurses and the police officers. They didn't get to stay home. And they got sicker and they died more than anyone else because they were there honoring their responsibility to their job and to public service. And let's remember that, and let's remember them.